Welcome to another episode of Morelia Python Radio. And in this episode, we are joined by Kori Martin from Kori Martin Reptiles. We are talking about Kori's carpet python breeding projects, her approach to keeping and breeding them, some of the future projects that she might be getting into. But the thing that I really wanted to get into is the market and her thoughts on new people coming into herpetoculture. We talk about her experiences with setting up a breeding business and some of the things that you should think about before taking the plunge. Kori not only breeds carpets, but she also works with ball pythons, black-headed pythons, hognose, green trees, and much more. So let's get into the show. Welcome to episode 494. We are talking to Kori Martin from Kori Martin's Reptiles tonight, and our conversation is going to be as diverse as her collection. She's working with some amazing species, from carpets to mad hogs. If only I knew somebody that worked with mad hogs.
I don't even know who that would possibly be. Not a single person.
Oh dear.
Definitely not anyone who's bred them.
No. Not several times now. Those people don't exist.
Yes. So what's up with you, Owen?
Nothing. I mean, I'm running around trying to see if I have any more
money to get married.
What? No, listen, that's already that train has sailed, my friend. I mean, I'm never going to get those parts of my sanity back. But I mean, I'm running around because I think I have maybe two more. I think I have one more carpet that's going to lay.
Oh God.
And then I have insert python species here that we talked about.
Yes.
On the
top secret.
Patreon's top secret. And then roughies possibly. So
Ooh, is that looking good?
Ooh.
Fat and angry. So
okay. All right. Well, she was always angry, but now she's
always
fat,
angry. Now
so
she's
that's a good
fat.
sign.
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll see. But then I also have like pine snakes, rhinos potentially. I don't know what the corn snakes are doing. I don't care.
Dude, where are you putting all these snakes? These baby snakes? Where are they
We've
going?
had this conversation.
Whose
problem is that? Whose problem is that?
Future Owen.
You're right, and that guy's a dick. So that is his problem. And much like how past Owen has screwed me horribly, we will deal with that later. What we care about is present Owen right now.
Present Owen.
Yeah.
Owen is present.
Present, which I think if I tell Melissa one more time that I might have overdone it, she's going to hurt me. So, because she's like, you can't walk around the house being like, I'm never going to get any eggs this year, and then walk around saying, I think I overdid it. You can't do that. I'm like, it's my process.
I can't believe you haven't learned in 11 years. So
I've never learned in 11 years. I never intend to learn these things.
Fair enough.
I'll be wheeling around the retirement home going like, I don't think I'm going to get any python eggs this year. And they're going to wheel me off being like, yes, Mr. McIntyre.
Yes. Yeah. You have plenty of eggs.
Yeah, I am.
I'm pretty, got some good news. My trip to Queensland.
It's not good news.
Australia.
It's not good news. It's not good news.
Is booked.
It's not good news.
October.
And you know what? You overdid it again, because not only are you flying to Australia on Qantas, which they will pamper you the entire way. I imagine Air Canada is going to be nicer to you than American Airways.
Probably.
I mean, come on. So it's American Airways on the way back from LA. They're like throwing Coke cans at us and telling us to shut up. Like, I imagine you guys are going to be in style. So far, which I explained this to Melissa through weeping, that it's you, it's Keith, Teresa. And did Matt go? Matt and Rob? So it's the five of you.
Yes.
So you need both Matt and Teresa to replace me, is what I'm gathering.
I think this is true.
It's true. You need the both of them to replace me.
Right.
I got it. Don't worry. I understand.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. But first,
dude, the price was pissing me off. Like, for half the price that we went to last time. Yeah.
I paid more for rough scales. I paid more for gelatins.
A round trip to freaking Queensland was like, you said it was like
Cape
1,400. now I'm looking at this bill for the caterer and I'm even more mad at it now. I hope you're happy. It was like 3 trips. Now it's like 12. Now I'm really pissed off at it.
And we're going to carpet.
Shut up.
Coastal carpet.
Shut up.
Mecca.
Shut up.
The spot.
I can't wish ill on you
ones.
or the trip.
Big,
I can't do that. I can't. But
yes.
I hope you're attacked by a kangaroo.
But first we're going to Arizona with
right.
Rob,
I'm even
Justin,
more pissed off now. I forgot about that. Damn it.
And Nipper, which I was the first time I've known the guy for, I don't know, 4 years now. So, and it'll be first time meeting him. And then Phil Wolf.
I'm kind of glad that I'm not going to be in the desert with Nipper. I think he'd take that opportunity to kill me. I've pissed him off enough over the years.
I think one mispronounced word out of your mouth.
Well, no, what I really did was when we were on the Arizona trip last year, and I was sending him pictures of like Will or Die, going like, "What corn snake is this?" That one probably did it.
Yeah, I would say that's probably true.
Yeah, I talk a big game when we're separated by an ocean.
Well, I will let you know what he says when we're out there.
Nothing nice.
As I send you pictures of corn snakes and rattlesnakes.
Listen, it's fine. It's fine. I've seen them all. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not crying. You're crying.
All right. Anything else you need to get out?
No. Nothing. No, we can't take up the whole episode with me just my crazy rantings. Yes. I mean,
we got an episode with me and you next week.
Oh, good. Okay. I'll
save it up. Save it up. Write it down.
Anger for the whole week of work. That'll go well. So.
Yes. And for people that don't know, Owen has been reading The Stolen World. I can't believe that it's taken him so long to read this book.
I didn't get it.
No, I don't mean like. No. I don't. I mean that book has been out for a while.
I know. I haven't.
And it's never graced your bookshelf. I
didn't buy it until early this year, and. Because
he's very sad about it.
It's it's a lot of this book must hurt Keith McPeak a lot. Like there's a lot of the species that he really enjoys, and they're like, and then all the Bolini died, and it's like, oh my god. So
yes,
yeah.
But we will be talking about that soon enough. But first,
yes,
let's welcome Kori to the show. Welcome, Kori. We are glad to have you.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. It's such an honor to be here, you guys. Like seriously, when I first started in carpets, I was like, someday I'm going to make NPR.
I do it every day. No,
no,
Eric does it more than I do. I just show up for this one show and then leave.
Yeah. That's true. You only do one show. Slacker.
Yeah, that's because you can't afford me for the rest.
That's right.
Even though I'm never paid.
Yes.
Somehow this contract lives till I die. Anyway, so Kori, I know we have a bunch of new questions for the intro now because Eric said my older ones were horrible. It's very cruel, boss. So I guess we're just going to jump into it. First of which, I want to know how you got your start into reptiles, and then what drew you to Morelia.
Yeah, so I was, I've always been an animal person. I was the kid who, I'd be on a work trip and I'd be off saving like the little salamander that we found in a puddle instead of actually working. So I was always that kid, but I never really got into keeping reptiles as pets. And it was actually my son. I have 2 sons who are on the autism spectrum. And one of them was having a really tough time, and he was really into reptiles and had wanted a snake forever. And I to try to motivate him out. And I, at the time, was like, oh my God, no, we're never getting a snake. We ended up going to a local reptile show and getting him a snake. And it was just, a dumb ball python. And I went and got my own the next day because I thought it was super cool. And then I had like 5 a week later, and then it went downhill from there.
Excellent. Good. You jumping into the deep end, I see. Okay.
Yes. So that's how I got into it. It's only been about 4 years. So not too long.
Wow.
Why does it seem so like, I'm like 4 years. I'm like, yeah, I'm in about 4 years now. No, that's not true. I'm in at like 20. Jesus. Like there's
You're old, basically.
whoa.
Yeah.
This is how Eric felt in the first season. So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, indeed. And it's only gotten more tiresome, Owen.
Yes.
So what drew you to Morelia?
Yeah. So, I started in ball pythons and wanted a snake that was actually interesting. And so I, started looking around, and I don't know, something about carpets was just kind of intriguing. I liked the way that they were, I guess, just had more personality to them kind of, and were a little bit more inquisitive. And I got my first one, and it was a zebra, and it was feisty, and it was like nothing. I was close, it was very feisty.
Well, I mean,
it was a zebra.
Again, with the deep end, you jumped straight into a zebra jungle. Like, oh my God.
I did. And I was like, I don't know. I kind of liked that it was a little bit more challenging and like, all that. So that's how I kind of got into it. And then once I started learning more, I got Nick's book. I started listening to you guys and learning about all of the different, various subspecies.
Yeah, we're not helpful.
Localities and all of that kind of stuff. And, it just started growing and growing. And carpets, ever since I got into them, I have a number of different species, but carpets are my favorites. They're hands down. I mean, I just love them.
So why snakes as opposed to like geckos or monitors or tortoises? Was it just because of your son, or?
So it was my son, and then it was also, we had a bearded dragon for a while, like, the worst reptile to get into that everyone gets into. And I like swore I was never going to keep a bug eater ever again.
I love how people say that, and then when you get into the twilight of your herp career, like Eric, all you want to do is sit there and feed the lizards little bugs, and it's like, okay, it's cute.
Yeah,
like an old man feeding pigeons at the park.
Exactly.
I know, but then I was looking at some baby Kimberly monitors that a friend of mine bred.
Don't do it.
I'm not going to, but
you should.
I get the appeal.
Yeah,
they're so cool.
I get the appeal.
It is
so
right
cool.
now. It is a constant struggle every time I go over to Eric's to not, like, I refuse to go into the room where they're at, because if I really get into them.
Yeah, he really does. He won't come in this room.
Really bad. It's going to be really bad, because I'm going to start measuring rooms and being like, I can put a tank here, and that's not good. So, I
just think about the square footage that I would have to dedicate to these things, and that spoils it pretty quick.
But compared to like a Nile monitor, like, it's much easier.
Yes.
And then of course, like, we check out what is it, Beachy Scaly Beasts and his setups, and of course I'm like, oh man, I could no, it's bad, it's all bad.
Yeah.
So
yes, it is.
Can you give us a brief overview of your collection, because you said you got a lot, and I know you and I are on the Colubrid, the Dr. False Water Cobra level. So
so I still have it. My largest is still in the ball pythons, so I'm hoping to, over the next year or so, probably cut that in half, because it's gotten too big. So I still have those. I have carpet pythons, obviously. I have hognoses that I also breed, just regular Western plains hognose, and have a decent group of those. I have black-headed pythons.
Oh,
and I've got 4 of those. Including an axanthic, which is just stunningly beautiful.
Yeah, I mean,
he's really nice.
They are one of my favorite axanthics. I mean,
yeah, mine too.
Which is weird, because they're one of my least favorite albinos, because I think you've taken away what is cool about a blackhead.
Yes,
it's like scaleless alligators. Well, there it is. Like, that's all I can say about it.
That's basically a frog.
Yeah,
it's a big frog.
You've made a frog with a tail. So
I have green trees. I have 3 green trees right now. I have obviously the giant hogs. I have a 1.2 group of those, and I have a couple of rainbow boas, and trying to think of anything else exciting. A couple of king snakes and that kind of stuff. But
cool.
That's trying to. I'm sure I'm forgetting something because I always do when I list the species that I have. Yeah.
I mean, if you ever listen to me to give an interview, like 10 minutes in, I'm like, and retics, right?
Like, oh,
that's still here, right? Crap.
We always forget the retics.
I always forget the retic, but that's a good collection. It's a good group. I mean, were you focused mainly on Australia, or are you kind of dipping into a little bit of different pythons in different areas?
Yeah, so I'm probably largely going to focus on Australia. I don't have the scrub bug.
The blessing or a curse. I haven't decided yet. Yeah.
I actually, for a little while, I had a pair of Papuan pythons.
Oh.
And I imported them. They're both imports, and I got them right around the same time and had them in quarantine together.
Right.
And one of them tested positive for very, very bad disease. Oh. And so I had to put them both down, and it was the most awful, awful thing ever. And so my heart hasn't healed enough to get another one yet. But they're my I even had a male, and they're hard to get.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it was pretty crushing. My heart still hasn't healed enough to get another one yet. But someday, hopefully.
Yeah.
How big were they?
Yeah.
They were 10 feet-ish.
Oof.
Yeah, they were decent sized.
They're no joke.
No, I mean, that's
yes.
You have to be a special kind of crazy to really like them.
Oh,
so
I love them.
See, special kind of crazy.
Love them. Yeah, no, I mean, there's just something.
There's different. Yeah. They're different or something. I don't know how to explain. Yeah,
like how they always go upward, and like they're
another
so
species.
They're so in your wheelhouse. I don't
There's
understand.
There's no room here. There is no room. Okay, I had this conversation with you. There is no room. None.
Wow.
But aside from obviously being very strong with their bodies, mine were both very mild tempered. Which
is rare too.
Yeah. They were both very easy to handle. And yeah. So it was crushing that one.
Yeah,
that
one hurts. Blow. Yeah.
But someday.
That would be cool. Yeah. There's a lot of people working with them right now.
There are.
So hopefully one of them has success somewhere.
I hope so.
I mean, does Ryan Young have a pair? Should we send him a pair? Because then we'll get babies at some point.
Yeah, I know. I was just talking to him today.
I'm pretty sure this is the third episode in a row I've mentioned him, so I need to stop now.
So how does all the other pythons well, I guess the question would be, with your breeding projects of ball pythons, how does those two worlds, how do you balance those two worlds?
It's interesting because there's not a lot of overlap. Ball python people tend to be like ball pythons and ball pythons only. And,
right.
A lot of the rest of the python world tends to, not
do everything
really look favorably upon ball pythons. So one of the things that's been really cool with that, though, is that I've been able to introduce a number of ball python people to the broader world of other things. Like I've sold a lot of my carpet hatchlings to ball python people.
Really?
And so that's been really neat to see people start, branching out into some other things too.
So what is your thoughts when it comes to if you have somebody that's used to ball pythons and now they want to get into a carpet, what's your speech?
It requires a lot of educating.
Yes.
Because you keep them very differently. They're in some positive and negative ways. Ball pythons tend to have to be a little bit more dialed in terms of humidity levels and temperatures. Whereas in general, I don't keep diamonds, but the carpets that I keep tend to be a little bit more robust and can handle a little bit more in terms of variation of humidity and a little bit more in terms of, like I do a night drop with them, and you don't do that with ball pythons. And so anyway, so it's.
Oh wait, you don't do night drops with ball pythons anymore?
Probably not. I mean, they probably wouldn't appreciate
so
that.
You don't do. No, I mean they breed year round. It's a complete.
They breed round at a constant. This is of course where we're idiots and both have never kept nor bred ball pythons.
Yeah.
Well, he kept them, but they didn't like him. I mean, you don't alter their temperatures like at all.
Nope.
They just breed.
Nope. I had a clutch drop on New Year's Eve.
What the hell is this insanity? How does this work?
So I'm always curious about this, right? When you're doing your ball python breedings and they're going all year long, how do you map that out? Like for me, I guess for the carpet brain, I'm like, okay, winter's coming, drop the temps, start the process, et cetera,
et cetera. To do the flow. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, how does that work?
Basically, usually by sometime around the summer, I'm starting to get a good idea of what girls have gone and which ones are not going to go for me that year. And usually that's the time where I go through and start figuring out, okay, what are my pairings going to be for next year? And in the fall, I'll start working on my pairings for the next year. So that's usually how I do it on the ball pythons. But there's nothing prep wise that you have to do. Like basically, I don't do any. I know you guys are like
open drawer, drop mail, close drawer.
It.
Yeah,
that's it. I mean, you pay attention. Like I pay attention to like some of their. You pay attention to a lot of the, okay, is she on the cool side? Is she on the warm side? Like, you look at her body.
Is she hugging the water bowl? Yeah.
Yeah. You look at all that kind of stuff and get an idea of it. But also like, I have an ultrasound and I ultrasound for my ball pythons.
Okay.
And so I also I keep a really good eye on follicular development. And so I know exactly when I need to pair what girl when. And it's just a total, and I don't, even though I have the ultrasound, I don't ultrasound my carpets. They're like, I would need another person to help me do it. Like it would just, it would not work out very well.
I mean, I do love it when I go and I pick up the python and I'm like, I'm going to ultrasound you. And it's thick as hell and it's not moving. And I'm like, I don't need to, but I want to see them. Like
So I think like the thing that again, not being in the ball python world, but sort of like dabbling my toe into it, maybe, if you will. And I mean, when I was coming back into reptiles, ball pythons were the thing. That's sort of like when all the morphs were starting to roll onto the scene and stuff. And I just find that just blows my mind, because back then it was breeding like pythons. And now it's like, it's so crazy that I guess it's because, do you think it's because they've been bred so much? They've just been conditionalized to captivity, or what?
I wouldn't think so. I would think it would take more generations than there have been so far, but I don't know. I mean, it very well could be that, the ones that have taken to breeding year round are the ones that are producing offspring. And then it very well could be. I think also they're an equatorial species. And so they're not going to have the same kind of, temperature swings that you're going to have,
right,
as you get further from the equator. So that I would assume is probably part of it too.
So they don't even have like a trigger, so to speak, or is it food? No, nothing.
So they do while I said, I had one on New Year's Eve, the majority of my animals are not laying, year round. The majority of them,
there's always that one outlier that messes with the graph where it's they all look good and there's a dot over there.
It definitely slows down in the fall and winter.
Okay.
Right.
I'll still have a few that keep going through that time, but then spring tends to be pretty crazy, and spring through summer tends to be the really big time for breeding and laying eggs.
Do you find that the females that lay, say, like the female that you're saying that's laying in January, is that pretty much going to be when she will lay going forward?
So my experience so far has been that it's usually first-time girls who are doing more of an off-season cycling like that.
Okay. Gotcha.
And typically the next season, they'll go a couple months later. And then the next season, they'll be kind of more to a normal cycling. Gotcha. That's been my experience so far. I don't know how that compares to other people, but that's kind of what I've seen. A lot of the time when that's happening, it's first time girls who are just, cycling at goofy times.
Okay. Do you have a ball python morph project?
That's what I was going to ask. Like, are you all over the place, or do you have like, are you the queen of, I don't know, pistachio? Is that one?
Doesn't exist.
That is not known.
It could be. I've just named a brand new morph.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this is my new naming gimmick. I'll get into your question.
Okay, please.
I will tell you my new naming gimmick. So I just sold a Huffman ball python to a guy whose last name was Huffman, and so now I'm going to go through and rename them all with some different last names. So like you got the Smith ball python and the Jones ball python. Brilliant. That's my new plan.
I like it.
It's like the name on the Coke can. Everybody can find theirs, and they're going to want it. Yeah.
Exactly. So anyway, in terms of projects, because I like weird stuff a lot of the time. My big project is Black Axanthic, which it was originated by VPI and never got a huge amount of traction. But it's basically a melanistic ball python.
Cool.
And so you can still see bits of the pattern, but it's heavily melanistic. And there's just it's a recessive gene, and there isn't a whole lot that's been done with it. So I've been working on that a fair amount. I was more on the early adopter side of that gene.
Nice.
So that's one that I really enjoy playing with. But I've got all the clowns and hypos and pieds and all the basic projects too, and then all the double and triple recessive versions of projects, which is how you end up with way too many ball pythons.
Yeah, that's
the problem I'm running into right now.
I can see that danger. Yeah.
That's sort of why I got out of it, I guess, because I was working with Candino.
Right. I forgot
what else did I have?
I put that out of my head.
I had like Mojave butter. No, what was it?
You had
Mojave Enchi something.
You had some pieds, didn't you?
Yeah.
Mean little suckers.
And it just came down to like what you guys were saying earlier about space, right? It's like, do I want to devote the space to carpet pythons, or do I want to devote the space to ball pythons? Obviously, the carpet.
Obviously, we know who won.
And so that's like, truthfully, that's what I'm running into right now. Is I've got all the carpet pythons that I bought 3 years ago, like needing cages.
They tend to get bigger.
Yeah, with these fuckers. So.
And how big are your mad hogs?
So they were juveniles when I got them.
Okay.
And they are voracious eaters.
They are.
and have been growing very quickly. I don't think they're quite up to full adult size yet, but they'll be there before too long.
Yeah.
And right now I have them. I talked to Riley when I got into them, and I have them.
Yeah, so did I.
And I'm co-having them, and that kind of stuff, which is so weird to me because when I first got in, it was drilled into me to no end that you never co-have snakes, and I almost like if I mention it, I'm like,
I put them together in a box.
But it was amazing because like when I first got them and had them in separate containers, like they wouldn't eat and they were like miserable, and now they all pile on top of each other in one hide, and it's just they eat and they do great. So it's kind of surprising. But
my one female literally laid eggs while the other female was laying on top of her.
That sounds right.
Yeah. For them, any other species, totally wrong.
That sounds right.
For them, right in the wheelhouse. So yeah. It's cool. Yeah.
But so they're in a 4-foot enclosure right now, but we're gonna need some more space.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I keep running into. I'm like, I keep buying all these Asian colubrids, and then it's like, crap, I think it needs a 6-foot cage at some point. It's later. Crap, stop growing. Like, yeah. So
you have a morph, and you guys can get into Mad Hog talk.
We will later. Don't worry.
And this is this sort of ties in with like, we're going to talk about reptile business and starting it and all that kind of stuff. But like when you're picking your projects, does the way you picked your ball python projects affect how you would breed or pick your, like, if carpet projects or other python projects? Like, are you working with a specific morph as far as carpet goes?
So, it's one of the things that drew me to carpet pythons was like the locality kind of thing, and the, and all of that. And so I, ball pythons are all about morphs. And so when I went into carpets, I focused a lot more on, I want to get, cool localities that no one has and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So that was kind of more the angle I went there. I definitely do have morph projects in carpets. I have a pair of double-head axanthic granite IJ West Populins. I'm always self-conscious. I never know which one I'm supposed to say.
I say IJs and I look
we say
them in
whatever
the eye
we
when
feel.
I do it.
Sometimes I say IJ, sometimes I say Poplin. Sometimes
it's one of the things that we get yelled at for once a year at the holiday show, and we all just move on with our lives.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Like niche.
Fair enough.
Niche.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then I have a bunch in my my breadlie stuff, or breadly, again, holiday show, yell at you. But yeah, so I have stonewash and genetic stripe, and
nice.
I have a hypo stonewash, and
Nick got these, didn't he?
He did, and I got and Casey.
Oh, oh no!
Yeah,
double dose of breadlie. Yeah, all right.
Doubled. I've got and so this was one of the things I've ended up gravitating a lot towards some of the spring breeder stuff as opposed to winter breeder stuff, which is fun. But I live in Texas.
Ooh.
Yes,
and so cooling cooling is a challenge here.
Okay.
And so this was my first season breeding breadlie. Sorry, I am going way off field.
No, you're fine. Keep going.
You're good. You're good.
Do not stop.
This was my first year breeding breadlie, and I was very, very nervous about, am I actually going to be able to get temps cold enough?
Mm-hmm.
And what I ended up doing was I put them in my laundry room overnight and opened the window, and I was able to get that room down into the 50s. Down to like the low 50s. And so it worked out, and I got them cold enough, and I have a gravid breadlie right now.
Nice.
Which is very, very exciting.
What's the pairing?
Yeah.
Nothing super exciting. This is, it's a big female that I have on loan from a friend.
Okay.
Who had her as a pet and was never gonna do everything he needed to do to breed her.
Gotcha.
And so it's just her to a genetic stripe male. So
that's still cool.
But, so
it's good to get your feet wet with those kinds of pairings where you're like, cool, this isn't the hypo stonewash genetic stripe yet. No. Yeah.
Yes.
So other than the temperatures, what did you do to breed them? And was it, I guess start with this question.
Yeah.
Were you freaking out because it was so different than ball pythons?
How different was it?
So my first carpet season, I was completely freaking out by how different it was. I listened to your breeding episode so many times. I was really freaked out. This time I knew that I could had at least bred carpets.
Right.
I was in the Morelia wheelhouse.
So I was like, okay, I've done this.
Right.
I knew generally what I was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But the main concern was whether I was actually going to be able to get things where I needed them to go.
Right.
So that was the main concern. Yes. I mean, so far the main things that I've done are just food cycling and temperature cycling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when you do food cycling, how do you approach that?
She takes the food away, Eric, and then she gives it back.
Yeah. So basically they eat pretty well in the spring, and they eat pretty well in the fall, and then they don't really eat a lot in the summer, and they don't really eat a lot in the winter.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, really, and I say don't really eat a lot. It's more like they don't eat for 3 months. But
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I've done it. I don't know.
Yeah. So I guess so this is another question. So I guess I'm asking these questions, right? Because I like to pick people's brain when it comes to spring breeders, because my brain is just not working.
The mental block right there.
I can't, and they're carpets, and I don't know what it is. I just have this block that it's just like, no, this is all wrong. This is all wrong. And it pushes me.
Have you bred one of the spring breeders yet?
No.
Oh my God,
No.
we found your kryptonite.
Yes, it is.
It's a spring
And they're my
breeder.
favorites of them all.
Wow.
You know? So,
Like,
yeah, go ahead.
Diamonds very much intimidate me. Like,
yeah.
You know, I don't have any in my collection and don't really plan. I mean, it would be fun to look at them, but like, I don't like.
You know what?
They intimidate me.
Easy.
No, I totally get that. I'm afraid of diamonds too.
They're so easy. I mean, breeding has proven to be a little bit tricky, but I think once you get it dialed in, they're pretty straight ahead. But they're pretty much like a colubrid. I mean, that's pretty much temperature wise what they're like, you know.
But then, do you use light on yours?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used, but for a long time, I used radiant heat panels.
Oh, interesting.
Because you use heat panels even on the adults, right? You used heat panels on the adults, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the babies, I just use. For the babies and the young ones, I did the no. I put them in a 10-gallon fish tank. It's like,
but that's okay for a. But that's okay for a baby diamond. Like that makes sense. Like I don't know.
But I just felt that with diamonds in particular, right? They're they're you know, their whole biology is around the sun, and you know, it just made sense that they would have heat from overhead. Yeah. And slowly I switched them over, you know. Yeah, I mean, it's super easy, and they don't eat. They would fall right into that Bredley thing. So
yeah,
and 50 degrees, I guess that's cold enough. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean. It works.
And it would have been better to go a little bit colder, but it worked. So
yeah. If she swells up and have eggs, then just repeat, like rinse and repeat. Yeah. There's no sense in be like, oh, I can get her colder. No reason to.
But the irony was, I had a shit year for carpets from the rest of my carpets this year because it was a really, really warm winter.
Yeah.
And I didn't and our house temperatures didn't drop low enough to be able to get that room cold enough.
Nick moved into his new reptile place a couple years ago, or like his new reptile basement or whatever. And he told us that he insulated the crap out of it. And then he had a really shit year for carpet pythons. And since then, I've just been very, very mean to my males, where it's just like cold. Nope, not doing this. Like if they're going to, and that was something, I think it was 2 years ago, I had a shit year because I had a ton of slugs. And if she's going to go through the trouble of creating eggs, you're goddamn going to get in there and fertilize them. Like
I wonder if the males just need to be cooler. I think overall they need to be cooler, right? Especially after talking to Gary last week, that was his main thing, right? Cold.
Yeah.
And then you
pythons can take a lot more than what we give them credit for, and I think that's the key to a lot of it.
I think I said it last week, but like, you know, this idea that getting them, you know, and I'm talking about the spring or the winter breeders, right? They get them to 70 degrees. It's like, you can't go below 70. Oh my God, they'll break. What are you going to do? You know, and it's, what are you talking about?
It's weird how Australia only gets to 70 degrees in certain parts and then doesn't get any lower. Weird.
So what was really so last year we had that freeze in Texas, and we lost power for several days, and so general temps in my house got down into the 50s. My carpets were great; they were like, I mean, they were cruising around. They were happy as could be, but then I ended up having a lot of ball pythons that either slugged out or didn't go, or I didn't end up with any respiratory.
Thank goodness.
Okay. I think it was short enough that we didn't get there, but yeah, I had just not a great season with them last year because.
Wow.
And I mean, we talk about this a bunch about, like, you know, keeping multiple species from different parts of the world. And we never talk about like ball python people who keep ball pythons in Morelia. They're two different parts of the world. And from it's sounding like, what's really good for a carpet does not help with a ball python. Absolutely. Like, they do not appreciate that.
Yeah. And no, I keep them in different rooms in different parts of my house.
Yeah, I was about to ask that.
I'm curious of your thoughts, right? As being a snake breeder, you're selling snakes, you have ball pythons, you have carpets. Do you recommend one over the other? Do you look at the individual that's coming to you to purchase the snake and then sort of make the call from there?
Do you know the gram weight of your baby carpet pythons, and is it important?
Oh my God, I don't do the. I don't.
Thank you, God.
I have people asking me, like, I have to put weights on Morph Market, and
why?
Because buyers want to know the weights for ball pythons.
Really?
And yes, everyone's into the weight thing very, very much. And
is there a reason? Like, is
it because a certain number of grams it can breed, right? Like, or something along those lines?
It's related to the breeding.
Right.
It's a lot of, there are a number of breeders who, like, historically have maintenance fed their babies. So they're, not feeding them really well. And so, they're undersized when people get them and that kind of thing. And so I think that's part of it.
I gotcha.
Yeah. Basically because people suck.
Right. How much is the weight? Not heavy send. Like it's,
yeah. But yeah, so I was vending a fair amount for a while, and I'm not so much anymore, but just because work changed and schedules and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But at shows, I always had people really interested in the carpets, but if they asked me if they could hold them, that was a good sign that this is not the pet for you.
That's a good, that's good. That's good.
I love it because that is where a lot of people draw the line, and it's a baby carpet python. I got another white lip this week because I am addicted, and we'll talk about that later. This is not my intervention. And it's a hellion. It's a hellfire. Like it is a demon creature. And I'm like, this is adorable. Like it is just, and that's, I think, like, but then a nasty little baby carpet. People are like, no, God.
Well, the reason I asked that question is because from a from a keeping standpoint, to your point, right? And this is why it popped in my head when you're saying that carpets are a little more resilient, right? So I'm thinking, like, to keep her era, if you don't have the temperature, it dips too low or whatever the case would be, you're probably going to have, you're not going to have to worry about bad sheds and all that kind of stuff. Whereas I think to what you said earlier, and this is my experience too, is that ball pythons are a little more sensitive, if the humidity is not quite right, bad shed. If it's, those kind of things.
And so they'll go off food for no reason whatsoever, and will literally starve themselves to death if given half the opportunity sometimes. And they're exasperating. Like, most people I know who breed ball pythons breed their own rodents, and it's specifically because they need to have the option of feeding live. Because there's a whole lot of animals that just will not eat.
Wow. I mean, you kind of see that coming with the fact that rodent breeders had to start breeding African soft furs, not because they wanted to give a variety, is because that's what some ball pythons are like. No, I choose death or African soft fur. That's it. Like,
let me tell you though, let me preach the gospel of African soft furs to you.
Yes, I know.
Because
I heard you talk about this before. Yes.
Yeah. So here's the thing. They are perfectly sized for most animals. They aren't quite small enough for, like, my brand new baby hognoses. Like, they're not quite as small as a baby mouse, but almost. They're like, they're born at the size of maybe like a day or two old Pinky Mouse. And they max out at the size of maybe a small, like a medium kind of
small to medium rat. Yep.
Yeah. And so I don't keep anything that needs to eat anything bigger than that. And so and they breed like crazy.
They breed like rodents.
No, because I also breed rats and mice.
Oh my God.
They are profoundly productive. And so you can make a whole lot of food in a very small amount of space, keeping them. And then you never have the problem of, what do you do with this retired animal that you don't have anything that's big enough? You don't have anything that's big enough to eat it.
Right. A retired rat's the size of a sewer rat. Like, I gotcha.
Right. Yeah. Like, if I, I have retic friends who, like, would be happy to take them or whatever, but like, I don't keep big boas or, something that would eat a retired breeder rat. So so I run into that issue with them. But man, ASF they're wonderful in terms of the amount of babies that they pump out and the size range of them.
So would you recommend breeding your own rodents over deep freezer full of dead ones? Just because?
No, it's awful.
No, it's horrible. Please don't follow me. Got it.
Don't do it.
It's worse than bugs.
It's awful.
If I didn't like the snake so much, I would not do it. No, all right.
No, one of the factors I'm going into as I'm looking at narrowing down my collections is like, I need to get rid of some of these animals that only want to eat live things because it takes so much more of my time to deal with maintaining the rodent stuff than it does with actually, taking care of the snakes.
Yeah.
Right.
And it sometimes makes me hate snakes because I just end up spending like so much time with these like asshole rodents that I didn't even really care about in the first place.
Right.
Where are they on the spectrum of smell?
Oh, God, dude.
So here's the weird thing. So there's kind of this like faint weed-like aroma to ASFs. Like I don't know what it is, but they don't reek quite in the same way that mice do.
Oh, they're horrible.
Yeah. They're awful. And then, they're not producing the massive amounts of waste that rats are producing.
Right.
So
yeah. I have 3 mice and I have to clean the cage at least once a week. Just because I can't stand it. And it's at head level when I walk in, because they sit on top of my incubator next to my my tank of guppies, because I have a tank of guppies for other things. So it's one of those things where it's just walk in and I'm like, no, I hate you. And I bought them just for feeders, and I ended up with a male and 2 females, and now I have a crap ton of fuzzies. And I'm like, well, shit, now you have a purpose and it makes sense. So I somehow tricked myself into breeding rodents. So
that's how it goes. That's how you get sucked in.
Oh, man.
I mean, the nice thing is it saves so much money in feeder bills.
Yeah.
That is especially when you have a large collection.
Yeah.
But it's so much work.
Like that one litter was 10 fuzzies, and I'm like, that'll cover the first group of baby carpets that come. So yeah.
For a week.
For one feeding. But both females are already pregnant again. So yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So let's tempt Owen and let's talk some gelatins. Gelatin jungles.
Bastard.
Yes.
So what made you get, I mean, I know you said you were looking for the locality stuff. What made you pick that one?
And they were actually, no, I think Palmerstons were my first locality, but these were my second locality.
Okay.
And I thought it was really cool that they were still pretty rare in the US.
Yeah.
I thought that their patterns, and coloration were so unique. Like I really like the greens and that kind of stuff that comes out in some of the patterns, and how they can almost, they're not quite like axanthic, but they're more toward that kind of spectrum on color. They're just really unique. Are yours complete assholes? Because mine are like some of the just
hellspawn.
Carpets in my collection.
My adults are chill.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're super chill. The babies are feisty, but not any more feisty than a normal carpet. They do the I'm gonna kill it. Like they're the carpet babies that are, they coil into the spring and then they sort of do that like with their head, and then they pull themselves back and like throw their whole body at you. Like, I'm gonna get
you cute little thing.
Oh, look at that. I like your spunk.
Yes.
They're, you might appreciate this, and you maybe heard me say this on the show, but the cool thing about them to me was that the ones we found in the wild look like the ones that we have in the States.
Yeah,
so it's like,
really cool.
Whereas some of the other ones.
Are you saying that jungles don't look like that in the wild?
Correct.
You see some of these crazy jungles and it's like, no, they don't look like that.
We did that? Weird.
Yeah. But so you going? Do you have a phenotype that you're going for? Are you going for bringing out the green stripes,
Yeah, so
banded?
I'm hoping to bring out stripes and greens. My male has some really, really nice greens in him, and he's got some really good lateral striping. So, that's kind of the direction I'd like to go with them. I have to actually produce them. So this is my second year in a row pairing them. My female has tricked me both years where she's like she's gotten really swollen up, and I've been like, yes, she's ovulating.
Right.
And then she keeps eating. And
oh no.
So, so she's done this to me twice now. So we'll see.
I mean, I've had females eat through a pregnancy. I've had them eat all the way through, but those are my insane coastals, not your special colored jungles. So that I'm only making fun of because I don't want to buy them from Eric right now or get them right now. I can't do it. There's no space for these. I would much prefer a jungle that's angry with fun colors.
Yeah, well, mine are angry, but
good. As they should be.
They're angry.
So aside from now, the question is, would you ever take the gelatins and cross them into a morph project?
Oh dear God, no. So basically, Nick Mutton made me swear a blood oath.
He does that.
That I would never, ever, ever breed them to.
Really?
I imagine somebody's going to do it. Somebody's going to have to do it. Someone's going to want to do it. But it's like taking a Brisbane and crossing it with a Jag. Somebody's going to do it. Somebody probably already has done it, but I know
the original.
I know.
What are you talking about?
I know, but nobody's taken a now Brisbane and bred it into a morph project.
Well, here's the topic. It's not I didn't put this in the outline or whatever.
Excellent.
But
we're off.
It's
off the rails. Good.
We'll have a little go around here of this topic, right? I kind of think I used to be of that mindset. But the more and more I think about it, what's going to happen when we get to the genetic bottleneck that eventually we're going to get to? Are we not going to cross this with that? I mean, I'm all for keeping those lines around, but I think part of that has to do with the original breeders that have some of those early animals to keep producing those animals so that people have a lot of, let's say with the gelatins, I don't know, maybe it's third generation at this point, third, fourth generation. I mean, if you keep spitting them out like that, eventually, thank God we haven't run into that, but I would imagine that
I think it's only a matter of time. Especially with these animals, because a lot of them are not like roughies or something like that, where they're not like island species. That the second what we're doing was just breeding siblings to siblings to siblings to siblings to siblings, eventually we're going to hit the wall, and it's going to be like granite IJs all over again. And there's no new blood coming in to save us. So the only way would be to outcross to the stuff we already have.
That's true. I could get new animals from Eric, but the problem is that they go back to Paul Harris's original animals.
I love how people do that. Where it's like,
anyway.
I got one gelatin from Eric, and I got one gelatin from Nick, and they're unrelated. No, you moron! It's
unrelated. They're related, but not related. But they're not related, but they're related. The funny thing is that there's a huge difference between my animals and Nick's animals, right? Because I remember when we originally imported them, he held on to them for a long time because he couldn't decide which pair to take, right? And he took the pair with the one with the more green, right? So I see his animals, and his animals produce more green. Now, whereas my animals produce insane striping,
right?
Like insanity when it comes to striping. Like almost tiger jag bald back type of
Nick
look.
chose poorly. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, yeah, I remember he was beating himself up about it, like saying I don't know which one I want, blah, blah, blah. This one would be really cool to have, but
But that's just where it forked. Could you imagine if he kept one of the male that he originally picked and then your female? Would both of your animals kind of look the same?
I don't know. I don't know
either.
Mine sort of don't have. I just put one in our.
I told you not to show that to me anymore.
Yeah, but it's.
God damn it! God damn it!
Yeah.
But no, you're right. I mean, we're gonna there's going to be that bottleneck,
right?
Because it's such limited gene pool.
Yeah, and
it's going to be that way with most of the locality projects. And so that's the challenge of it.
The only thing that kind of kept the key, I think the only thing that's kept us from running into that bottleneck wall is in the past couple of years. If you want to think of the last 10, 15 years, we have been getting nothing but new carpet morph after new carpet morph after new carpet morph out of Europe.
Right.
So, so with that, you kind of have new blood coming in because it's attached to a morph. And yeah, it might be semi-related to the stuff that's here, but those animals coming from Europe to the United States and kind of spreading their genes out have kind of lessened that bottleneck. But we're eventually going to hit that wall and it's going to start happening with species and localities first, and then species I would imagine we're going to run into it with things like diamond pythons, womas, all this other stuff, because there's very limited how those animals got here.
I mean, that's provided that there's already, the genes that are going to jack the snake up.
Right.
They're in there.
They are.
If they're not in there, then, I guess they could breed over and over and over and over and over again.
I mean, eventually,
right. I mean,
eventually, I don't think you can just keep piling it on top. I mean, you'll hit that wall eventually, I think.
I think I'll be dead by then.
Yeah, all right. Well.
But I do.
You have strains of lab mice that basically you're breeding the genetically identical animals to each other ad infinitum.
Yeah,
right.
And there's no issue at that point because they're they've been bred specifically and they don't have issues. So it's possible.
So maybe we have to do due diligence to sort of call out the weaker.
You're right. The reptile hobby will do its due diligence to remove the genetic mutants. Right. We will be responsible.
The genetic mutants.
Here come the scaleless carpet pythons any goddamn minute. Here, this one was born with no eyeballs. $20 more. Mm-hmm. Right. We'll do the responsible thing.
Right.
Yep.
I don't know.
You have faith in us? I don't understand why.
My glass is half full, Owen. I'm an old guy. I just sort of,
oh my gosh. I've been in the snake world 4 years and I'm jaded as hell. So
I've been in here 4 years. Already broke me. Wow. You lasted 4 years. That's good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. I think I was jaded.
So very similar. Gelatins, not in anything genetically or anything like that. Well, maybe they are. I don't know. Well, time will tell. We'll see. But the inlands.
Oh my God.
Yes. So you think these are the greatest ever? Tell me why. Tell everybody what I've been trying to say forever.
Oh my God.
I've never heard about these inlands. Go on.
Oh my God. So my daughter is afraid of snakes, which is,
That's
a great
odd.
life choice when you live in my household, but that's how she's decided to distinguish herself. Inland carpets are what got her to like snakes. They are the chillest animals on the planet. Mm-hmm. I've never had one even assume a defensive pose or pretend to strike or anything.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They're calm as can be. They are beautiful. The blue colors that you get in them, if depending on the line that you're doing, or the reds depending on if you're Schofield or Maug, but they're I think a fantastic. There's so much potential for getting people into carpets who are not into a bitey snake, or who are not crazy like some of us,
right?
For it seems like there's I think a lot of potential for them as pets. I think that they're lovely animals. I love them. They're my favorites.
The majority of male bredli that I have sold have gone for pets because people want a large python that doesn't give a crap what's going on around it. And I imagine inlands are just fun colored bredli.
I think that the advantage with the inlands is that they're going to be way smaller.
Yes.
Than an adult breed.
Yes, absolutely.
You know? And I always feel that, as much as we like to say that inlands are kind of on the rise, I still feel it's an untapped market. It's an untapped potential for those species to start breeding and then figuring out the look you want to go for and going for it. And I mean, we've seen that with Tim Tyndall stuff. So do you have a specific type that you're looking for, or are you just excited as hell to have inlands, and that's where we're at right now?
So I have 3 pairs of them.
Oh my God.
I used to have 4, but I decided 4 was ridiculous. So now
3,
I have
a much
3.
better number.
Yes.
I'm really hoping a silver pepper pops out of one of these. Like it is,
if I try hard enough,
playing the odds. Yeah.
But I have. So my original ones that I have are Maug line from Justin Julander, and then
we've heard of
I
him.
have a Maug from Nick, and then I have a Maug by Schofield from Nick, and then I have Maug by Outcross from Nick.
That one.
I have one of them. Yeah.
So
that's cool.
Yeah.
You kind of settled on Maug. Why Maug over Schofield?
I just randomly found Maugs first, and I really like at least my Maugs have a whole lot of blue and are just really, I think they're gorgeous. And so that's just kind of how I ended up with them.
That's another one where I've been like, if I had the space, I'd get a pair of inlands. Only because then I could just cross it off the list.
Yeah. I love them.
But they're not a cross it off the list type of species, man.
Don't talk to me like that.
I'm telling you,
like
as soon as you get them, you're going to be like, oh, wow, these are pretty badass. And
you'll be like, inlands are us.
Get rid of all these nasty ass coastals. Like, only been breeding them for 20 years. Get them out.
I think so I have a pair of Schofield, I have a pair of Maug, and then I have a male that was from Justin's, the one he got from France. And then that's cool. I think it was Schofield with it, but my Schofield is one of those weird outcrosses from
doesn't know what it wants to
from
be.
Paul.
Yeah.
From Paul.
Yeah.
He had a striped one a while back, and it's on his website still, I think, but I don't think anything came from it. But that's where that's from. So that's Lucas has one from.
Yeah, but that's the problem with stripes is that we might go like 6 or 7 years down the road, and all of a sudden these striped inlands are going to start popping up out of nowhere. You'd be like, where the hell did these come from? And it's like, oh, right, that one. So I know, right? So was your breeding with them the same? Did you follow the same thing that you did for the bredli, or?
I did. So except I kept them. So I kind of did a hybrid between winter and spring. So I cooled them down like I did the bredli, but I didn't keep them cool as long.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And I haven't produced any yet, but my female has follicles that I can palpate. So I'm hoping that we're still in the game right now. We'll see.
I think it's not. I don't think python breeding's done yet because I still have a coastal it's going to lay, and then my bredli looks like she swallowed a football. So
nice.
I don't think we're done yet. And then there's other projects. Can't talk about, but yeah.
And so I talked to Michael Pennell a lot, and because I do too. Looks like I'm losing I'm about to lose my computer power. Which is not good, especially because I'm actually plugged in.
There have been several times where we have a guest on, and I'm like, I shouldn't be like tongue-tied as much, but I am. Michael Pennell was one of them, where it's just like, I don't know. You're like my coastal Yoda, like, please, please like me.
Yeah, no, I've been so lucky because he's fairly local to me, and we've been to the same show circuit,
Cool.
and so I've kind of had him as a mentor on a lot of things. And so, and so we were going back and forth on whether to treat them like winter breeders or spring breeders. And he hasn't been able to produce them from his yet. It's just, and I haven't heard definitively like what people have overall had the most success with.
How many people are like, how many inland clutches are we looking at this year? Because stop it. I said, stop sending the gelatins.
That stripe is really nice.
No. No, turn off my phone. But I would want to say that there's not as many as I would have expected from a species that's been here and in the hands of really good python breeders.
Well,
yes.
I think that the Schofield have been hard to breed or harder to breed than the Mug. Yeah,
of course.
I think that I remember talking to Mike about that at Carpet Fest. He was sort of saying that he thinks that they're a little trickier.
And I know Terry treated his differently, and that ended poorly. I don't know. If I had them, I'd treat them like a bredli, but that's just because that's where I would start. And if that worked, guess what they're going to be treated like for the rest of their lives. Mm-hmm. If it didn't work, it'd be a fun guessing game of what the hell. So
that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
That was the picture I was looking for, Owen, for you.
If this is another gelatin, I swear to God.
No.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah,
so,
that's nice.
Yeah, there's I don't know. Yeah, there's just something about them that just
it's like better than any Xanic carpet coastal I've seen. And that's
the red in it too.
Yep.
You know,
when you get those reds, that's really pretty.
And I love, to your point, what you said. I think that the fact that they're so docile probably makes it difficult to get them going. But
you get the same thing with
I think it's good for people that are coming into carpets that like the idea of a carpet python, but don't like the idea of getting bit all the time. You know, as much as we may think it's fun and
who are those people?
Oh, look at you.
Right. Yeah.
But okay, cool. Yeah. Well, I hope you produce some because
I do.
You would be. I know Nick's produced them. I know Justin has a clutch on the ground.
Nice.
I think Chuck's produced them. I know Carrie's produced them. Terry's produced them. I can't think of really anybody else.
It's weird that it's only that small amount. When if you do the same thing with bredli, like people trip into bredli clutches.
Absolutely.
So.
I think it's just hard. Do you find that that it's hard to sort of capture them on camera?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it was funny. I took one with, I think just one with me to NARBC Arlington, and it got so much attention at my table, and I think it was because seeing it in person it's really different than seeing the pictures.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. It's seeing the animal up close, which is why I'm always like, if I have babies, I'm bringing an adult with me because I want also people to realize what they're getting into, but also it's so much easier to sell babies when they're parents with them, like whether male or female, doesn't matter. So, yeah.
I've done that before, especially when you've got like ugly little baby jungles.
Yeah, I held my adult
pretty yet or that kind of thing.
I held my adult female bredli all the way to Tinley, and I sold all her kids. Like it was just like busting her out, and I'm like, hey, look at this 8-foot monster, and they all left. So, yep,
that's amazing.
So I knew you were a true carpet nerd, and I mean that in the most positive,
the sincerest way possible.
Yeah.
When you had Nova Guineas, because only a few diehard carpet python people,
and you knew what they were.
With Nova Guineas.
Yes.
So talk to us about that. What made you get into them?
What I thought was just really fascinating about them is that they've got that reduced pattern, almost like a jag without any of the jag goofiness.
The fun stuff, right?
Right. And so I thought that was just there was a lot of really interesting line, breeding kind of potential with them to see what you can develop working with that as a polygenic trait. And then there's just also that, the mystery of it and, like not really knowing the story of what they are. And they're just, I don't know, they're interesting to me because of that.
I think that Morelia people in general geek out about
stories,
the natural history of a species as much as the story of the species.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that there's something.
That you've got that head that's a little different and the eye color and you just it's really intriguing.
Yeah.
So are you going for, do you have like animals picked out for a specific thing? Or are you just going to breed it, see what comes out and go from there?
And figure it out.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, I have a pair of them. I'm just going to I'm going to make more the first time. And then I'll probably start putting them into some of my, IJ projects and see what happens with that, even though, I don't know.
I would be really curious to see how that, would the babies come out red? Do they,
Yeah. So, and so I have more IJs than I really should. And so
that's a shame. You were doing so well.
Save this for last.
That's so unfortunate. Damn.
Yeah, I have too many of them. So
that's a species that I would like to, and I've admitted this to Eric a few times, and I've never admitted this on air. I want to get like a pair of wild caught IJs just to breed them to see like the fun stuff that you can do and see how you can like, it's almost like starting carpet pythons, like clean slate kind of a deal.
Yes.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I have 1.2 wild caught IJs.
And this is, the only thing I can attribute that disease in my brain is the fact that I've been listening to Eric for 11 years go IJs at the grass. Like that's the problem, is that now I'm like, you know what? I can
that IJs. If you get IJs, I win.
That's why they're not here. The problem is I don't have any species that I can make you get for me to win. I know it would be a colubrid of some kind, I guess.
No.
Yeah.
No. That wouldn't happen. So where did you get yours from? Where did they come from?
So I went in with Stephen Katz on a shipment.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice.
And and so, I just kind of committed that I'd buy a certain number out of the animals that were bought and get what I got. And it worked out pretty well.
That's what happened.
Yeah. I have a pair of them I got mine from, I have like the farm hatched a couple of pairs of those, and then I have actual wild adults, and they're so, I'm curious to see your thoughts on it, but they're so different than captive carpets.
Yes.
So different. Oh, and like really in your wheelhouse, bro.
Shut up.
I'm telling you, man.
Like, why are we trying to fill my house full of snakes? You got open cages.
I'd downsize it, man. But so what did you do to get them established? Was it hard? Did you have a hard time eating all that kind of stuff?
So I had them in like real far away from anything else quarantine for a full year.
Right.
One of them came with subcutaneous parasites.
Wonderful.
And so that was actually a ton of fun to deal with. That I highly recommend that experience to everyone getting those out. But I'm a dork like that anyway. So they started eating pretty well for me from the beginning. The first meal, I put a frozen mouse and a frozen rat pup in and let them choose what they wanted, and one of them took both of them, and
nice.
I think one of them took a few times of offering to eat, but they all started pretty quickly for me. My male has been a little like he goes off of food sometimes, and I can usually get him back with either quail or like live mice. Sometimes we'll do it for him too.
Oh, okay.
But his body shape is really different than a lot of my stuff that's been captive forever. Like he's skinny and he's little.
Yeah.
But he's a full adult, and that's just how he's gonna be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how different this. Yeah. It's just it's hard to explain, but when you actually, it's like just like when you go to like I use a bucket when I'm like taking my snakes out and cleaning the cage, right? So like you take it out, you put it in this bucket. Trying to get this carpet into the bucket is like. I'm like,
last time it was in a bucket, or last time it was put in a bucket, it was in Indonesia. And now it's here. Like, no, right? Buckets are bad, dude.
I understand.
Oh God, no.
But it just was interesting, and there's the tone of their muscle tone is just different.
They're muscular.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so. Like I was in it. I was trying when I was breeding that. I tried pairing some this year, and I didn't like all of my carpets. Nothing happened this year because I didn't get them damn cold enough. Mm-hmm. But it was weird to even palpate because they have so much muscle tone. They just like hold themselves firm like that, and you can't even like get the pressure into feeling.
Yeah, it's probably like I have the Blue Beauties, and they're nothing but like built like triangles almost. It's hard to even feel anything in them. It's like just muscle all over. So
what else do you have Popwin carpet wise?
Yeah, so I have a farmed times F1 female that I got from Riley. No, I got from Steven. Okay. Then I have a pair of double het Azanthic granites.
Nice.
And then I have a granite.
Okay.
Yeah.
I produced granites through Jason Balin, but we're not talking about my accomplishments. So
you did not. How dare
he
you
doesn't
take
listen,
credit?
It's fine.
But they're like, to be honest though, like they're probably like I'm probably the least excited about them.
The granites?
No, not granites. Just IJs in general.
No, I understand.
And then I have actually that's not true. I'm going to make you hate me now.
Yeah. Okay.
Coastals, not a coastal person.
Get her off the line. I'm done with this energy.
What is it? What is it about coastals you're not a fan of?
Well, so part of it is
size.
I mean, I have a pair of Brisbanes, so
they're coastals. I don't understand what you're talking about.
So I have coastals. I'm not saying I don't have them. They're just
you just hate them. You just walk by your Brisbane's cage.
I hate them. I like my Rockhamptons. They're really cool. But yeah.
Why are you torturing yourself with all these localities of coastal? Send them to someone who will appreciate them.
I'm sending my Rockhamptons to someone else, and I need to find someone. My Brisbanes are really pretty, but there's only so much room for so many things.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. And the unfortunate part is that a lot of my carpet projects that aren't like jungle or coastal caramel are getting pushed out, and I quickly realized this as I'm going through all the cages. I'm like, not a carpet, oh crap. Like it's, oh God. Like it's starting to get that way. And I'm very afraid of what's happening.
So how do I ask this question? When you are breeding as a business,
yes.
Right, do you have more of those, come to Jesus, trim the fat type of,
do you have to make those decisions?
Situations that go through your head?
Because these things got to breed, right? I mean, when do you draw the line?
If you're a good business person, you would be having a lot of those conversations. It's been hard for me. So
yeah.
I have not done a lot of fat trimming, and
I struggle with it, and And it's sort of like it took me years to just embrace the fact that I'm not, nor do I want to be a commercial snake breeder.
Right.
I think I did want to do that for a while, but like I just don't like that part of it, right? Because when I get attached to a species or attached to a genus, it's like I want to be able to work with what I want to work with and not necessarily working with what I think is going to make a good pet. But that's the balance, right? That's the back and forth. And so how do you deal with that?
So, I mean, so far that's why I have the ball pythons and then I have all the other stuff.
Right. There it is.
It's the general idea behind the whatever business model you want to call it is that like ball pythons pay for the fun stuff. So
I mean,
that's kind of my plan. So
you're not the first one to have that. Yeah, that's the Bill Stiegel thinking. And I mean, the other thing is that like you get attached to animals because if you're doing this as a business, I mean, eventually you sell the adults to make room for the new adults that you've been raising up. Yep. And we run into the problem of, I like this one. I raised this one. It's just a normal coastal. Like it's yeah.
I found that I struggled with that less when before I got into carpets, I was going towards going into ball pythons, and I never struggled with that thought with them, right? Because you don't have the same. It's not the same for me because the way my brain works is that I want to work with the different species, but when you're working with ball pythons, it's working with different morphs. And you can sort of say, well, I don't really want that morph, but this one has that in it. So I still have it if I want to produce something from it, or want to produce one of them. So I found that once I started getting into Morelia, that was a struggle.
Yeah. Well, it's, for me, I almost feel like it's different. Like, and that's where I'm at, where it's like if I collected cars, I'd have a bunch of different types of model car to do different fun things with and that's where all my snakes are. They're all over the place. Instead of just working with one species and just getting the same car in different colors. Like why not mix it up?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it keeps it a lot more fun for me.
It does.
Yeah.
So let's talk breeding business because I saw your post. You made this post where you said that this is your 4th year and now you're finally getting into your rhythm and things are starting to you're digging yourself out of the hole that we all get ourselves
deep money pit.
Yeah.
Wait, you can get out of that pit? That's so weird.
You can actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
I told you, Owen, ball pythons. But
I don't want to do
you
that.
had to go get Madagascar hogs and these things that don't breed.
They breed. The other stuff doesn't.
Right. Very good. So what would your advice be to someone that wants to start a reptile business?
It would be to really think it through and have a plan that you're starting with, because I did not start that way. I started with, ooh, that's pretty. And I started with like, I didn't think a lot about how much money do I want to put into this thing in general. I was more like, okay, I have some money. I'm buying this one. And, it wasn't really laid out very well. And and because of that, it took a little while longer to kind of figure out what I was doing with it and where I was going. And I most certainly spent more money than I needed to. Because I just didn't have a lot of focus early on as I was still trying to figure all of that stuff out. So I think being a little bit more intentional and like thoughtful about what you're doing is probably a good idea.
Do you feel that the current market, like when you're getting into it, could weigh on those decisions?
Sorry, say that again.
So like you look at the current market.
Yeah.
So like even if you took like a ball python morph, right? You have this one that's hot at the moment. It's like clown, right? Everybody's got clown this, clown that, whatever. Is it, I guess there's no better way or whatever, but is it better long-term that you sort of have a vision to say, okay, I'm going to take this and I think I can make this.
Yes.
And then go with that, right?
It is. So I think particularly with ball pythons, the best thing to do is not try to chase whatever Justin Kabilka is doing.
Smart.
Right.
Because you're never going to catch up to Justin Kabilka.
Right.
So it's figure out your own thing and your own way to stand out and make a name for yourself, because there's so much noise, and there are so many people who are, you're just never going to catch up with them. So it's do your own thing instead of trying to be the next whoever.
Do you find that it's easier to stand out that way? And does it make it easier to stand out when you have other species, like say the carpets or the hognose or the green trees or whatever? Do you find that today reptile buyer is more interested in somebody that's more diverse or
specialized?
Yeah, so I mean, it's so hard to say, right? Because you have the reptile buyer, you're talking a huge gamut of people who are getting into their first time pet versus trying to have a goal toward breeding, versus like someone who just really, really loves animals and wants to collect various species. There's such a gamut of buyers. So then it's also figuring out like who among all of that do you want to be servicing as well?
Right. I guess that was the better question, right? Like how do you?
Yeah. And I think with ball pythons, I would highly recommend quality over quantity, because there's it's no secret that they're, being dramatically overproduced. And I don't want to add to, I don't want to be overproducing them. I don't want to be producing a lot of junk that's going to end up going to be someone's rescue, rescue animal, because, whoever bought the $45 normal ball python, decided they couldn't keep it. And now what do you do with it? So, I mean, I would rather have fewer animals and produce nicer animals, but then that means I have to get rid of things, and that's where I'm struggling.
Right.
So I don't know. I think about this stuff all the time, and then thinking about it versus doing it is a totally different thing.
Right. 100%. Yeah. It's I think that's another part of why I don't like being a snake breeder. I deal with the public as my job.
I don't want to talk to people. It's like
I love talking to people about snakes. I just don't like talking to people that I sold a snake to. That's, I got to go ask my significant other if it's okay after I talk to you for 30 minutes.
My favorite, what was it? Recently,
can I trade you, my hammer collection for what,
Yeah.
What was it? I think recently somebody was like, I'm interested in this animal. I'm like, oh, it's this much. They're like, cool. I get paid in like 2 weeks. And I'm like, why are we doing this now? Why can't we do this in 2 weeks?
Wanted pictures, negotiated to a certain price. We got everything sorted out. And then she's like, yeah, I don't really have any money right now, so I can't. And I was like, why are you talking to me?
Why are you wasting my time?
The one thing that I've always done as a buyer is like, you do not contact the seller unless you have money in
you hand. Are ready to purchase. I just had the Chinese king rat eggs, and somebody was like, what's the pairing? And I'm like, I'll tell you, it's this one and this one. And they're like, cool, keep me in mind when they hatch. I'm like, who the hell are you? Like, I don't, you're all right, random person on my Facebook. Like, no, just keep it in track. Message me, man. Like, my main focus right now is hatching them and keeping them alive. If you want them, you got to come to me later.
You can come back and yes,
come on. All right. Well,
yeah. So this is one of the things that, like, I feel like people who are newer into acquiring animals need to realize is every single interaction that they have with another breeder is building their reputation in the hobby.
Right. I would agree to that.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that I hear there are certain people that have massive like YouTube followings and this and that and the other thing, who I hear are reluctant to pay like $1,000 for a pair of snakes that they really, really want. So even those people are like, that's awesome. I can't pay you for a month. It's like, well, what the hell? So this
Right.
is a whole industry thing where it's like, if you are interested in an animal, do not contact the seller unless you are ready to purchase. Because other than that, you are wasting time. And
you are wasting time.
Right. And all you're going to do is get yourself jazzed up for a certain animal. And then I cannot guarantee it is going to be here when you circle back around. And don't you get pissed at me because somebody else showed up and bought it. Like I've had that at shows where people are always I'll circle back round and.
Oh no, they never come back.
Well, either they never. I had one person come back at Tinley, but I sold the animal they wanted. I'm like, this has never happened before. Like it is. I don't know what to do here.
My favorite is when they come back with someone else's animal and they're like, "Look at the deal I got." Like,
get your mite-ridden crap away from my table. Yeah. Like it is. Yeah. Anyway. Eric came back too early. I was going to try to sneak in Colubrid discussions, but now he's here.
Go ahead, go for it.
All right,
bring it.
All right,
let's do it.
All right. So was it? You said you had the mad hogs, but then you also had some king snakes and some other stuff.
Yeah, and then I have a pretty significant group of Western Hognose.
All right. Do they wear hats?
Yes, all of them.
Get them out of here. I'm done with this call. I'm done with this episode. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Top hats
constantly.
I put little bits of glue.
You have to.
You gotta hold it.
Anyway.
All right. Yes.
So,
no top hats.
What drew you to something like the Mad Hogs? Because I almost feel like they're such a fringe thing over there.
They are a totally fringe, weird thing.
Yeah.
So, I do have another species I forgot to mention.
See, it happened.
I also have tricolors. Tricolor hogs.
Nice.
Damn it. See, that's again, it's just one of the things where like, I should get tricolors. I'm like, I don't need tricolors.
So I'm generally fascinated with, Madagascar species and like just in general.
Mm-hmm.
I find, their entire fauna of the island and the way that it's evolved differently from everything else, just super fascinating. And so, I would love to be able to get like Sanzinia or something like that, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. And
that's not going to happen anytime soon. And the lemur's just right out the door. Can't do that.
Yeah, no, I don't change diapers. So I've had kids. So we're not doing that. I think there was one of the shipments from Madagascar and they were suddenly available. And I was like, this is my golden opportunity. And
must do it now.
And so I got a group of them and they are the weirdest animals in the world. They're like all huffy and like kissy about everything.
And that weird hood thing that they do. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Nice.
But then, they never actually try to bite me. They just like, get all huffy and then like jerk in one direction and they're just
and then they give
animals.
up. Like you go to get them and they're like, hood, hiss, puff. You pick them up. They're like, all right. Oh, well, it's over now. I'm like, wow, all right. Like,
I don't know. They're so weird and I love them.
But that's completely different. Like I have the giants, the speckled and the blondes. The speckled are the nicest. The giants are nothing but bluff. The blondes are dickheads. Like they are
they really?
They're evil. Like it is.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is
That's
weird.
Cool that you have them all.
I do.
I'm only like low key jealous of that.
That's all right. I think all my blondes are males. So.
Oh, that sucks.
Yep. Well, that's yeah.
That's what happened.
But so aside from just like wanting a weird kind of Madagascar snake, I mean, how did that all go about with like, I know you probably did what I did and bought them and went, must speak to Riley. Like it was, okay.
Well, I talked to Riley as I was considering.
Okay. You did better than me.
And I read his like articles that he had written about them and stuff. So like, I didn't just entirely dive in with no research, but like I do with a lot of
everything else. Yeah. I talked to him before I bought them.
Yes, I did my due diligence.
Right.
Like they're in your hand, you're about to pay for them, and you're like,
right,
"Hey, Riley, are these
like,
cool? Cool.
Cool. Okay, got it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. That's awesome. So how you said you're kind of like on the juvenile stage. You haven't gotten them big enough yet for breeding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're one of them apparently. So here's my question for you. How do you feed yours? Do you like feed them all together and it's a free for all, or do you separate them?
Just open the cage and dump a bucket of food in there.
Yeah.
There you go. It's like old school zoo feeding where I just dump it in and be like, here we go, figure it out. Like, no, it's I actually separate for feedings. So I'll go downstairs and I'll separate all the pairs that I cohab, which is getting to be considerable. Like the Blue Beauties are cohabbed, and then during breeding season, a bunch of stuff's in together. But then the Mad Hogs are cohabbed year round. I'll separate them, which means it's pretty much I open the door, and if whoever I grab is going to go into this, I have a spare 41 quart that's just empty. They just go in there, and then I give a dish of food to everybody, and then they eat it, and then the next day I'll put everybody back.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Cool.
Which is cool because then you have the king rats who will eat anything that you present them. So when I'm feeding them the day before, they get like the leaner feed, and then I'll usually come and scoop up all the bowls. Probably a couple, like if it's not eaten after a half hour, the snake is not going to eat it. I'll usually scoop up and just pour whatever's not eaten into another bowl and give it to the king rats. So they'll eat whatever the Mad Hogs won't, or Crebo, or Blue Beauties, or false water cobra. There's a lot of stuff now that's starting to get fed that way. It's starting to get a lot worse. Like it's
so how do the Mad Hogs compare to the false water cobras?
Equal. Yeah. Okay. I don't trust my falsies as much as I trust the Mad Hogs, and I probably shouldn't trust the Mad Hogs as much as I do with all the fun stuff. There was something on Facebook this week where somebody was doing a dissection of a Western, and they actually saw the venom gland in the section of the head. And I was like, holy shit, like that was cool.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was not expecting that. I got to find that post, Eric. I'll send it to you. But it was
yes, please.
I was freaking out about that. That was cool. But the falsies are pretty much like equal with like disgustingness and
no, they're gross.
Attitude. I think my falsies whip a little bit fast, and my falsies grow faster. Okay. I've tried to keep, because I need to get new cages for the false water cobras, and I'm like, you guys gotta hang out in these for a little bit longer, and that is impossible. Like I'm trying to not feed them, and they're like, no, I grew another foot. I'm like, why? Like I don't have a place for you to go. So it's hard.
Yeah.
What drew you to the Hognose?
Yeah.
Just in general.
So I like for them, I like, again, they have a lot of personality. And I think that's a lot of fun. And I like that you can keep, like, that they don't take up a lot of space. Because I have a lot of things that take up a lot of space.
These are much smaller.
It's like, I feel like I'm playing Tetris all the time. And
I know the feeling. Yes.
I like look at a blank wall in my house. I'm like,
what can I do with that? That was, so have you had success breeding? You bred the Westerns, right?
Yes, I have. Okay. Yeah. So this is my second season.
Has there been a mass suicide when you open up the egg box and all the babies like just instantly play dead or something like that?
So the babies, so I thought I had broken Hognose because none of them ever played dead. But I just had to wait for the babies because they are little drama queens.
Really? That's great.
Yes, they will just like flop over. It's ridiculous.
And that's the funny part is that, so when I hatched the Mad Hogs, Melissa was like, "Well, these play dead." I'm like, "No, the exact opposite. Like they're just angry everywhere."
So mad. I just walk past their cage and they're like.
You did have an interesting post that I thought was cool about Hognose. That was you were feeding them because I guess you were having trouble with some of them or whatever. But a trick you had with I guess it was like was it a mouse leg or something? Yeah.
And so I learned this from a green tree person.
Okay.
And I don't remember who it was. I wish I could give them credit for it, but I can't remember who I saw doing it. But it's basically you make a little meat popsicle out of a mouse leg. You take you get the like skin and fur stuff off, and just have your little meat popsicle, and you kind of stick it in their mouth like.
Yeah.
Meat end first.
Right.
And once they kind of bite onto it like that, they've already got the bulk of it in their mouth. And so they just kind of get going with
Set them down.
Basically, it's a mouse drumstick.
Yeah. And it's, pretty much.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah. It works really, really well. You don't have like, your like mushy little pinky that explodes as you're trying to get, exactly.
Yes, I do. Because my first breeding, I had a pinky pump, which was the most horrible thing on this planet.
Yeah. So, so you avoid the gooey pinky, which is, lovely. And it gets a little meal, and all is good. But the nice thing about baby hognoses is they're born, and they're okay if they don't eat for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's not an emergency with them to get them feeding.
I guess that makes sense, right? They would go into hibernate, or
depending on when they hatched.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. I mean,
and so this was my first year brewmating them.
Yeah.
And I was amazed at the difference that brewmating made. Like it was very, just they thrived from brewmating. Like they needed that time of like lowering their metabolisms and just chilling out. They came out and they were just ready to pound food and make babies.
Yeah. I'm probably going to start, like I have the mandarins now, and
so
my idea with them was because always when we're talking with other breeders, and they're like, if they can't get a mandarin to eat, they put it down for winter. So I'm probably gonna put my Asian rat snakes through breeding cycles even as babies. So
well, that's what I was just going to ask. Do you put the baby Western hogs through the same brumation? Would you? Because this is a thing that comes with diamonds.
I did this year.
Okay.
Did you? Okay.
I don't know if I'm going to keep doing it or not. The problem with doing it is that, I missed several months of feeding them.
And they're smaller.
Now my babies are smaller.
Right.
But they did fine. There was no issue with it, and it certainly didn't hurt them.
Right.
And I've heard the same thing with Westerns for, if you're having trouble getting one started, sometimes putting it down for winter for a month can then get it going.
Yeah.
And so, so I didn't have any issues with it.
Yeah.
But again, like I'm not sure if I'll keep doing it or not, but.
Do you have any interest in the Easterns?
I was not successful with Easterns. I tried Easterns.
Yeah.
I tried Easterns. And I feeding them was a challenge.
Yeah, we were talking about Easterns, and I have to thank KJ for immediately sending me a bunch of links to Eastern hognose breeders. You dick! Like I don't need, I don't know why you did that to me, buddy. Like it was, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have.
They're gorgeous.
They're gorgeous.
Beautiful.
They're
I love
beautiful
them.
animals.
I love them.
Yeah.
But I do not have a tank full of guppies. And,
Damn it, I do. Like that's. There's no room at the inn. Like I can't do this. There's two warring parts of my brain. It's always the we could put that there, and then there's always the no.
What are you doing?
Yeah, well, it's another snake for us to take care of. Oh, right, yeah. So
right,
yeah, that is a problem.
It's amazing how snake math works. You forget that.
Well,
part.
And then also there's so many things I still have to pair. Like it's.
It seems like you like snakes that are hard to get eating because you also have
the blackheads. I just apparently am a glutton for punishment on this.
When's the Antaresia coming?
Yeah,
they don't take up room.
I know.
And they're pretty. It's like having a miniature python.
So what made you get into blackheads? The pinnacle? They're the pinnacle, right?
They're amazing. What made me get into blackheads was seeing an axanthic blackhead.
That was one of those, oh my God.
It was like the heavens like parted,
music.
angels.
Nice.
You're shoving small children out of your way so you can get closer to it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I had that kind of a religious experience. So yeah.
Cool.
Where was this? Was that the NA or was that a NARBC
show? So it was actually at a herps show. But it's someone who vends them. It's this guy named Jim Sargent. He's been around for a very long time, and he is an amazing blackhead breeder, and but only likes to sell stuff locally. And he just happens to be like in Texas.
Nice.
I've heard about this guy. Yes.
So anyway, so I picked, I was like, okay, so I'm going to start. I was going back and forth all weekend on, am I going to do this? Am I not going to do this? And I was like, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a het female and I'm going to start growing her up. Like, that's a sensible solution.
Right. Yeah. Am I going to do this? I'll get the het female. So you're going to do it. Yeah. No, not yet.
Right. No.
The het female doesn't mean I'm going to do it. Oh.
So then I'm like texting to my husband and I'm like, there's blackhead pythons here. I need to do it. I think I'm going to do it. And he's like, oh, honey, whatever makes you happy. He thought I meant like a blackhead ball python, like the blackhead ball python.
Nice.
Whatever makes you happy, you fool.
Well,
in that case,
whoops.
The list is long.
Whoops. Yeah. So I got that. So obviously I got the female, and because as one does, and I don't know, within like a couple weeks, I was like texting it. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to need that example.
The boy.
Nice.
This has been a good week. Give me the boy.
Awesome. Okay.
That's awesome. What was it? There was that one Tinley we went to where somebody had westerns, and God, if I had
Jason
the money.
Hood.
Yes.
Well, no, it was that Tinley, but I don't think Jason Hood's look like westerns.
Yeah, there was somebody. There was somebody 2 tables down.
But there's somebody that actually had westerns.
Yeah, they were gorgeous. And God, if I had money.
Yeah. Westerns are amazingly beautiful.
Yeah,
and they were not.
It's interesting with them that they
sold out like the whole table.
It's interesting. The blackheads sort of like they're one of those pythons that just stay that they're just this price. They don't go up or down.
Nope.
They stay this price.
Blackhead price. That's why I'm kind of liking more pythons and other snakes. That it's just like, this is what it is. This is how much it costs. There's nothing else about it.
Yes. Yeah.
Is it hep? Nope. Does it do it? Nope. This is what it looks like. It's like selling olives was the easiest thing in the world. Do you want a male or a female? What does it look like? It's like an olive python.
So with the blackheads, they are the most colubrid-like pythons. They're also just weird and move differently, and they are so food motivated.
Have you ever wanted to dip your toe into woma after your blackhead experience?
I've definitely thought about that after getting into blackheads. I will not lie.
Well, I would say to hold off.
Wait
till Lucas produces some.
Yeah.
Because I tell you what, I think Lucas has the best collection of womas.
He's slowly getting there, yeah.
His womas are fun.
Womas are one of those things where all of a sudden now there are people who are popping up who, like, there are stellar womas all over the place. So I think you could do I think womas are going to start climbing up the ladder to get close to kind of like where blackheads are, where you have some really nice ones being produced.
They deserve to. I mean,
yeah,
right. Because I found out they were originally smuggled into the country in tape cassettes.
Wow!
How dare you?
Wow!
Christ!
Oh wow! Okay.
Audio tape cassettes.
So, how old are your blackheads? How old are they?
So I have a pair that are 2019s, and then I have another that's a 2019, and then a female that's a 2020.
So you got some time before you start.
We got some time, which is nice because again, caging.
It's funny.
It's like the ticking time bomb.
It is.
I see every single time.
There's a massive clock on my wall of when I'm going to be in trouble with this stuff, and it's like I just put in a bunch of 8-foot cages. And I'm like, there we go, and it did like the clock didn't do anything. Like I'm still in trouble.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah,
I know. That's what I mean. So back to the business thing. Like, so it actually is possible to actually get profitable and whatnot. But the problem is then you have to go buy cages.
Then something else happens. Like
then you're not profitable anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. I know. I man, this time went quick. I just looked at the timer and I was like, wow, okay, wow. This is what everybody feels like.
What everybody feels like.
2 hours.
Oh my gosh.
So weird. 2 hours used to be such a hard sell.
What were we talking about?
Talk snakes for 2 hours?
Reptiles.
We can't talk snakes for 2 hours. Yeah, you can.
We do it constantly.
But you made a post, and I think this the thing that stood out to this post that you made to me is that I think a lot of times people have this idea that I'm just going to get into breeding snakes. My snakes are going to be the best. My reptiles are going to be the best. Everybody's going to hunt me down. It's going to be so easy. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to be in my snake room all day. It is going to be the best. And they forget about things like bookkeeping and accounting. And you had made a post about that. And, I just thought it was interesting.
The bane of my existence.
Yeah, right.
Even with all this stuff, like the programs and stuff that people can get for bookkeeping.
QuickBooks is like the devil. And so
yep.
And so so I did I signed up to do a little Udemy class on like how to do bookkeeping because I was coming up with all sorts of weird impromptu systems that apparently are like not the way you're supposed to do things. But there's a lot with that that I think a lot of people don't, like, at least that I've talked to, don't realize. Like, your snakes are not an expense; they're an asset that you can depreciate.
Yes.
Like, a lot of people don't pay attention to that.
Right.
And so, there are a number of little things like that make a difference.
Yeah. When I was,
so where did you go to learn that?
Yeah.
You just took a class?
I did a little class. Like, Udemy is the platform I did it on. There's a bunch of, there's a bunch of,
like master class or whatever those things are. Yeah.
Those kind of things.
I want to say that when I was an LLC and I had like that, I had an agricultural farm thing for my thing.
Yeah.
They could, the animals depreciated every year. And also, you could write off ones that you lost in this, that, and the other thing, but you still had to pay taxes and all this other stuff. So it was good and also horrible. Like, it was just one of those things, which is why I was a poor broke college student. So I decided that was no more for me. But there is a lot that goes into it. And to be honest, I'm not sure if us as reptile people, like, it all sounds good of like, oh, people are going to be breaking down my door, contacting me to get in hold of my, that's annoying. Like, I don't, some days where I'm like, I don't want to deal with people. Like, do you want the snake or not? Like, it was.
Yeah. And it's actually a lot of work to sell and ship a snake.
It is. Shipping.
Oh my God.
I
shipped 5 snakes out on Tuesday, and just the process of getting all the labels made, making sure that I had all the right animals going into the right boxes and all the materials and prepping the boxes and making the holes and all of the stuff.
Right.
It's a long process.
And I would say a lot of people get out of their head when it comes to certain things where they want to have the flashy presentation or they want to do this rather than focus on, shipping the animal correctly. Then you can add like a couple things after you've done that appropriately.
Like, maybe add the swag once you know how
please,
to
for the love of God,
package the box.
Get the animal to where it's going first, and then we'll start worrying about other crap. The box doesn't need to spin, shoot glitter, and talk about and present that and sing your theme song. I just want the goddamn snake to arrive alive. So there's a lot of stuff, and I've had a couple DOAs and I am nervous as hell for shipping every time. I hate it so much. If I could, I would make everybody pay for Delta. Like, and just screw it. You go to the airport if you want this thing. Like, it would. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know some people who do that.
Yeah. I don't have the snake. I don't have the snakes for that.
I don't either.
Yeah, I think that you don't realize, well, then it's even the stress of what happens when the snake is overnight, right? That overnight, you're waiting in the morning time. Did it get there? And then you get the buyers that are just like, they don't think that it's important. They tell you that they got it. And
I hate those people.
4 hours later,
if you don't
like, did you get it?
If you don't contact me after an hour, I assume you got it, and I'm mad as hell at you. But I don't even want to. Like, I just thought about this in my head. I'm not gonna. If I get roughies, people are gonna have to come to my house to get those things. Which like no. Well, no. All right. Well, damn it.
Done. Next.
I don't like. Can you imagine me being? I don't want to. I'd be a nervous wreck shipping one of those out.
Yeah, you've had some pretty bad luck with shipping.
It'd be so much easier just to keep all of them. Yeah. See, there we go. I've decided.
I've got a roughy breeder locally. So
who's his name?
I'll Brent Bender.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Brett's awesome.
Yep.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Brett's
That's cool. Are you going to get into roughies? Is that something that
it's very, very appealing, but I'm very, very much trying not to buy things right now because I've been on a 4-year bender.
We need like at least a year to recover. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Get the funds back up a little bit
smart.
Until you.
A little bit,
Brett has womas now too.
He does.
Yeah, and his looking pretty good. So
they are very nice.
He's a dangerous neighbor.
I have a woma. I have a woma from Brett. It's beautiful. Yeah,
he's got Angolans too. Brett is a dangerous neighbor. You should move.
Yes, he is.
Kimberly Rocks, right?
Yeah,
he's his Kimberly Rocks. I saw,
and he's got black face, white lip now too.
Yeah, Brett has like he has a pretty like interesting.
He and I were talking earlier this week about like insanity. Yeah.
Okay. So here's a question for you as far as like you're sort of in all these communities, you're a breeder, you're sort of trying to get your name out there as far as like make sure that people know that you have X species and this species and that. How do you balance being in, let me start with this. Do you feel that you have to be in like Facebook groups and all that to sort of make a name for yourself in the reptile business? Is that a thing anymore? I don't even know.
I think it's still a thing, but Instagram is a lot more a thing now than the groups for people who are newer and getting into it.
And it's probably better for selling snakes, right? Because it's just pictures.
Instagram is great. Instagram is great for selling snakes because you can hashtag things and appear in people's feeds who aren't necessarily even
following you, but are just interested in the species.
Yeah. So I'm still, I'm in the groups. I'm not always the best about remembering to, I always feel weird and awkward sharing my stuff to groups. Be like, hey, look at me, I've got a thing.
Right. There's always one person who's like, who cares about your thing? Look at mine. It's like, all right, dude. Right. Like, I don't want. Why are we doing this? Like,
yeah.
Oh, the ball python groups are the worst about that. If you post a picture, they're like, oh, I've got one just like it, and it's like nothing at all.
It's got one eye and it's twitching.
The old one upper.
Like, awesome, dude. That's really great. Cool snake. Cool snake, bro.
I guess it's probably easier on Instagram, right? Because now you're sort of, it probably makes this question that I'm asking a lot easier to sort of manage because you could say, follow hashtag of Hognose snakes. You can follow hashtag for, carpet pythons. And then you're sort of seeing that. So you're interacting with those people. So that does make Instagram a superior platform.
It works really well for that. And y'all are going to like roll your eyes like out of your heads to hear this one. But fucking TikTok,
God damn it. I knew that was coming.
I have been fighting this.
God damn it. I refuse.
I can't do it. I can't do it. But yet, listen, it's so many parts of my life are like like my guitar playing TikTok. That's where it's at, right? If you're like a shredder and you get on TikTok and start shredding, boom, people are like, oh, what's that? Next thing you know, it's
you
like
need
all these people
whore yourself out to TikTok so that we can open a serpentarium. Do you understand this? All right? Do
Very
it.
good.
Do it.
I feel so
They're
dirty,
right
but I'll
behind
do
you.
it.
The guitars are right there.
Yes.
You can cry the
So
whole
you have
time.
that.
Yep.
Then you have, I would imagine it's so much better than YouTube because you really don't have to edit anything and you can just sort of show a video, right?
The whole thing is putting something totally unpolished out there. And it's like, the whole point is being stupid. So it's...
So what do you do on TikTok? Do you post videos on TikTok?
Yeah, so I do. And it's, it's always like, a picture of a snake to whatever trendy sound is out there. And then that shows up in people's feeds. It's all about just kind of getting people who aren't necessarily looking for you.
Gotcha.
And so that's the beauty of that.
I would imagine that's a younger crowd. So
much younger crowd, but it's like all the things do. It starts young and then,
the old people come and take over.
People come and make it horrible. Which is why I'm there.
Riley was trying to get us. He did some kind of video.
Yeah.
Oh God, this was a couple months back.
Angry
where he was
carpet,
like holding
right?
a carpet python in the mouth. You know how they pretend they don't strike. They just open their mouth and like, that kind of thing. And he put it up on TikTok and like all day long, he's like, I have 1 million views. What?
Wow.
What is it? Melissa came home from work and she showed me the video. I'm like, that's Riley. Like that is Riley.
Yeah.
And she's like, really? I'm like, yes. So yeah, it's.
Oh, TikTok.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know. Owen.
I refuse.
Maybe I should push you into the.
No, why?
You guys.
What?
You guys are above having to like whore yourselves out like this.
Well, no, not Eric. We want the serpentarium.
Yeah, I don't know if it would benefit the podcast. I don't know if that's a good platform to sort of.
Probably not.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody wants it. There's so many different ways you can. It's like how people are like, why don't you guys weigh in on topics? It's like, gee, I don't know. It's almost like we have a podcast weekly. If you want to know things, you can listen to that.
Listen to us. You're like, listen to the one of like 5,000 opportunities a week you have to listen to.
We also ask if you guys have questions. If you want to know what our opinion is, ask a freaking question. Like, it's.
I think sometimes people get, I don't want to say, I know when I was a listener to a reptile like Reptile Radio, I would be nervous. Number one, about like they used to do call-ins where you could call in, and I was like, oh, I can't call in. No way. So then I would email the question, but I would feel nervous about emailing the question. I don't know why. I just would. And, I imagine that other people are probably the same way. Owen.
That's why they email you, mean. Not me.
God.
You're such a kind, gentle person.
So, okay. Top 3 tips for somebody that wants to get into the reptile hobby, make a name for themselves, and try to do this as a business.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh. So the first one, I'm going to go back to something that Owen and I were talking about, which is every interaction you have with someone is part of, like, every time you buy a snake from someone, every time you inquire about a snake from someone, every bit of that is building your reputation in the hobby. And some of those early situations where you're buying snakes from people, those breeders, those are the people that, you're wanting to meet and learn from, and, all of that kind of stuff. So like, do you want to have that opportunity and be a person they like, or do you want to save $50 on your purchase? Like,
it's $50 worth your reputation.
It's always the $50.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So okay, so that would be number one. Number 2 is just put yourself out there, but don't be the obnoxious person who's only talking about themselves all the time. Show interest in other people. Reply to people's posts. Don't just post your own things. Actually show an interest in people. And it's like, I mean, some of this is just how to be a decent human being 101.
Yes.
That seems so hard.
The struggle is real.
But like, we've all seen it. We've all seen
Yes.
that one person who, like, you know, spams all the groups every single time they post something and then never actually interacts with anyone. And you're like, cool.
Thanks.
You know? Yeah. So that, and then, you know, if you're doing it as a business, well, one is just decide if you're doing this as a business or not. And it's okay not to.
Sure.
It's, you know, it's cool to have a hobby that, you know, maybe brings a little money in or doesn't, but it doesn't have to be a business. But if you are doing it as a business, you know, keep records and
treat it like one. Got it. Yeah. If you're going to do it as a business, do that.
Yeah. And then that kind of, to carry on to that. So I'm a lawyer for my day job. And so one of the things that I get like questions about all the time is like, should I form an LLC or, you know, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, just build your business. Like, you don't need to have all the stuff. Like, make a name, build your business. Once you're, you know, the next Justin Kabilka or whoever else out there, then you can deal with like figuring out your business form and all that.
Get to the point where you're like, holy crap, I think I need to do something about this. Then do that.
But like, you know, but all of that stuff is just, it's overkill if you're just starting a little, you know, side hustle snake breeding thing.
Yeah.
It's, you know, don't overcomplicate things.
Yeah. There was, I think his name is Mark Mandic. He's a ball python breeder in Canada. I listened to him. I always found him an interest, even though I wasn't into the ball pythons per se, but I always took something from his appearances on podcasts and stuff. And one of the things that he always said that stuck with me was, you grow into business, you don't go into business.
Agreed.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, the problem is, I think everybody, it's very, very easy to get lost into it and get overwhelmed with the whole.
Oh yeah.
I have to have a cool logo. I have to have all the really nice caging. I have to do all this. I'm going to take out a credit card to do this and the other thing. And then you can get buried, and it can happen very fast. So
yes, it can.
I would definitely recommend slowly getting into it, because that's what I wish I had done.
It's normal to have phases where you're really into it and where you're kind of not. And everyone goes through that, and you got to get through a few of those seasons of just, you know, going through the motions of cleaning, even though you're not, you know, loving every minute of it.
And there's really nothing wrong with like people would always be like, oh man, you didn't breed a lot this year. There's nothing fucking wrong with that. Like, if you don't want to breed a lot this year, don't.
The first year I didn't breed. Oh, it felt so
First
weird.
year I did
like
breed.
It was just like,
oh my god, it's amazing.
What?
Yeah.
But then when everybody else was like, I can't get this to eat. Oh my god, I have so many babies. I'm just like,
you're like happy.
Like, I'm on my way to Australia. It's like, god damn it.
Yeah, no, for me, work got busy, and I was just like, you know what? I've paired everything I need to pair for this year. We can be done, and whatever took, and
nothing wrong with
that's fine.
Yeah, I think that's the other part that I felt for me. This would be my, you know, a tip that I would say to people when you're thinking about this is that, you know, I do work, I don't know, 50, 60 hours a week in my day job. And I just felt that it wasn't fair to my potential customer that I wasn't able to spend the time that I would want to spend with them, helping them or answering their questions, or, you know, being that person that's going to respond within the day or whatever. And it's just hard when you're, you know, if I was just doing snakes, then it would be a different story, and maybe it would be easier. But when you're doing basically 2 full-time jobs, and you have a family, and then you know,
right,
and there's only so much time.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just felt that that if I was going to make a mark on the reptile hobby, the podcast route was the better way to go, rather than to do, I still breed snakes. I still enjoy it, and I still sell snakes, to your point, right? But I'm just not doing it as a business. So I don't feel the pressure anymore. The pressure's gone.
And
which is
great.
Fantastic.
I don't have to produce if I don't want to. I don't have to worry about, I have to go to this show or this or that or whatever. It just becomes more of a, to your point, an enjoyment.
Yeah. It does. So.
And it's easy. It's easy when it becomes a business to lose the joy part.
Right.
And that's a really important part.
I think that's my struggle too. And why I asked some of those questions is like, I felt that I would be getting into stuff that like all reptiles are cool to me. But there's some that I like more than others. But if you're doing it as a business and it has to pay my mortgage, then I'm going to have to make a decision that's best for that and not necessarily what
your opinion doesn't matter. Reptile. The customer's opinion matters. Like you breed what you can sell.
So, as doing that, let me ask this question from a ball python standpoint. Do you find that you can, for lack of a better word, kabilka a project, right? So like, I mean, think about it, right? He's sort of this, he goes out, he does YouTube videos and he hypes up his projects and shows what all this work that he's done to get there and his vision. And he's great. I think he's great, and he then gets you excited about, and when all those crazy, what was it? The magma and all that. So I was like, I was running on my treadmill and I'm like, what the hell is that? But I guess you can sort of, I think sometimes that you can sort of dictate or push the hobby in a certain direction.
Yeah.
Just by your enthusiasm or, about a particular project. Yeah. What's your thoughts on that? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can. I'm never going to dedicate the kind of time to marketing that Justin does. Like that's not my interest. That's not my goal. Is not to turn this into some kind of full-time gig. Like it's much easier for me to make real money I can make off of than my actual day job.
With a
job. So that I'm not going to do that. But at the same time, I mean, if you're able to show your enthusiasm for a project that you care about and, it can make a difference in the marketplace. It's not just one person who has control of that. So
right. Yeah.
There are definitely, and so that with some of my more off the beaten path, like projects, I try to do that. I'm at a much, 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 much smaller level, much, much smaller. But then that's, but part of the idea behind that was then, when people think about whatever random morph that is, like maybe my name's one of the names that pops out.
Right.
And, and so that's kind of at least my thought process with that.
Okay. Yeah. And my last question, and no one can hit the closing questions, but I'm always curious about record keeping. I don't know why. Yeah.
I'm fascinated with it too.
Yeah. I'm just curious of what do you record? How do you do it? I think you had the QR codes. You got rid of the QR codes.
I couldn't do it. Yeah.
I've tried. I've tried and given up on QR codes 3 times now.
God damn it.
I love the idea of it. Yeah. I fucking hate losing them.
Well, it's such a cool idea. It's just practice sucks.
And you end up spending so much more time on data entry.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've given up on it every single time I've tried to adopt it. And so what I do for the most part now is I use a combination of, so most of my bigger picture stuff I manage on spreadsheets.
Okay.
And then I have, things like, I have either magnets or masking tape in different colors that I use to kind of keep track of, okay, this one missed a meal. Except, that kind of stuff, or at least my breeders. So I know kind of who's eating and then how many meals in a row, maybe if they're not eating. For my breeder girls, I have a little card that I stick in with their general tag that indicates where they are in their cycle, if they're in the process of breeding, if they're gravid, if they've recently laid. I have the date when they laid. If they've laid on that card, I'll have, if they are gravid, I'll record their pre-lay shed, but I'm not keeping track of sheds generally.
Okay.
Right.
I keep track of it for a specific purpose.
Okay.
I don't keep track of weights. I think that's dumb.
Yes.
I really don't like data entry, so I try to keep it as largely
simple as possible.
as simple as possible. So I try to go with some physical symptoms on, not symptoms, symbols on the bins themselves.
Gotcha.
And then bigger picture stuff like pairings, I record on spreadsheets, and I plan all my pairings on spreadsheets, and then I keep all my clutch records on spreadsheets and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
I found, here's going to be my tip, right? Because I did the same thing, QR codes, index cards, QR codes, computer, QR codes, note app, blah, 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 all over the place. And I like it seemed to me that the easiest way to do things was right on a index card. But the problem with the index card is when I would go to clean, it would get wet, the ink would run, whatever. So I have this book that I take out when I field herp, and basically the pages are waterproof, right? It's like field notes or something like that. So I was looking at them on Amazon, and they make index cards that are from the same material, so they can get wet, and it it doesn't run, nothing like that. So I started using them. Perfect.
That's wonderful.
You need to send me a link to that, because I have to redo all my cage guards because they got wet, and because even though I laminated them, all the ink has run, and those beautiful pictures I got of every snake is now like it's a blank. It's a blank card inside a plastic thing. It pisses me off. So
you got like the rat juice spilled on it.
I mean, the snake room isn't the cleanest.
Horrible.
Yeah.
So I use them. And then my other trick that I found is that, especially with babies, I do this more so, is that I actually got this from Matt Minatola, but I kind of made it my own. But if you're feeding, you get a green sticker dot, right? If you're feeding, if you're a male, you get blue. So it'd be, if you're feeding in a male, you would green and blue. And if you're a female, you get green and red. So that at just a glance, which I really liked, and I think this is sort of what you're talking about, right? You'll have like, just something that you can look in your room and just sort of look and sort of say, oh shit, that one didn't eat. This one's in shed. That one's breeding. This one's with that. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
The quick and easy visual symbol.
Right.
Really nice.
Yeah. It makes it super easy.
Because once again, we all don't have like all the time in the world to sit there and be like, on this date, this snake did this. Like it's, and then tomorrow it did this. Like it, no.
Right.
Yeah. No, I had a customer recently ask me for like shed records on a hatchling, and I was like, oh, well.
Like 3 times. I don't know. It's not in shed right now. Is that what you want? Like it's,
I even tried Nick's method. We've all bought snakes from Nick, so we know how he sort of has like the sticker that he's writing on and whatnot. And then like I'm so anal about like my printing and stuff. So that, like if it's not like perfect, I'm like rip it or throw it away.
I guess I've done that mid feed so many times where I'm like, bullshit. This card.
Some of us have the handwriting of a serial killer, so that was never an option. So
I'm envious of people that they can just write. Really, they don't care what it looks like. They're just whatever. But Nick has the sticker thing, and I like that he pulls it off and can put it right on the thing. Yeah. And, but I don't know.
I feel like
I don't know why I geek about that, but that's just something
it's one of my questions I always ask people too. I'm fast because I'm constantly feel like there needs to be a better system than what I'm using, and I'm hoping that someone has better tips.
Well, when I worked at the labs at like in Penn and other places like that, they have cage cards, but the problem is that each laboratory has its own system of what does this mean? You put a little slash here, that means you cleaned it, like and all this other stuff. And I don't want to do that because then I would have to explain to everybody what my freaking system is so that they can reach their cage card. And it's
I did use Siri for a bit. So like if I had a note, say I had a carpet python, axanthic carpet python, it would have a code. So I would say, Siri, can you add, blah, blah, blah to this note? And then it kind of worked. But then, I don't know if I didn't go back in and look at it, it would take my Philadelphia accent and twist all the words around.
The Wooter python is wrong.
Like, what?
But and I'll keep track of feedings for like my hatchlings up to the point where they're rolling, and then I just don't care. Like of course they're eating. Same. Like, and that's so. Yep.
But you guys don't find, especially you two, right, with all these different types of species from different continents and all this stuff. Like, how do you keep all that straight in your head? Like, I don't know, maybe my brain is broken and it doesn't work as good.
Does the snake look hungry? You should probably feed it.
Yeah, fair enough. I feel like I need a better system than that for sure. But right now I rely on brain power, and it hits its limit sometimes, and which is why I need to downsize a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's also true. Like, when I had 300, well, God, at some point I had close to 400 snakes, and it was just, it was just too much. So, to keep track of all that was just impossible.
And then you've got all the different schedules as well. Like, so like the Colubrids, I want to do more like every 5 days. And then, the ball pythons I'm doing once a week. And then, except the males who are doing like every 2 weeks. And then I've got the carpets, it's just like, and so keeping all of that. And
and then somebody throws a wrench in it where it's like, and now you're egg bound, or, oh my God, you're not eating. And they're just, it's very easy to get thrown off with that kind of stuff, and you just kind of take it as is. But you almost prefer the snakes where it's like, you're fine, you eat every time, you can stay. Like, I don't need to worry about you. Awesome. Like, it's all that stuff. But
100%.
Yep.
All right. So let's do the final questions. Let's see. I think we're going to go with what is a species that you regret passing on?
Oh, that's a good one. So I'm going to say white lips.
Oh my God.
But it's because I got northerns, and I wish I would have gone with southerns.
Yeah.
I got a northern, and I don't know. It didn't do it for me. And
it's such a coin toss. Like, it is like right now I'm sitting here and I have 3 really nice, well-behaved southerns, and then I have a psychopath. So and then I have, out of my golds, I had a really nice female and I had a really dickish male, and they were paired up. And now they've flipped personalities. He's really calm and chill. She's a monster. So I can totally see that.
My one that I have that I wish I wouldn't have waited so long on is green trees.
Okay.
Yeah, I was intimidated by them far longer than I needed to be.
Yeah.
And once I got them, I was like, damn, I wish I would have gotten these sooner.
That happens. Either you're like, these things are horrible, or like, why didn't I do this sooner? So okay.
Out there.
All right. If you could start keeping reptiles all over again, would you change anything, and what would it be?
I would not go as deep into ball pythons.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. What is the hardest lesson you learned while keeping reptiles?
Ooh. That taking care of a lot of animals is a lot of work.
Yeah. Yes, it is. That is, you have a full, I don't know how many times a week you guys go down and like clean, but there's a day where I do nothing but change waters, and that's Wednesdays. And then there are 2 days I usually do cleanings on, like Tuesday, Thursdays, and then I feed on Sundays. So it's like 3-4 days of the week where
when you add in rodents, I'm doing stuff every day of the week.
And I'm about to say, I'm usually in my snake room because I'll do AM checks and bed checks where it's just like putting eyeballs on everybody that I can see, which is why I need cages more than tubs. I need to see you. So yeah. Damn. All right. And I guess the last one, let's see. All right, we'll do that one. If you could only keep one species, what would it be?
Apodora papuana.
All right.
Oh.
Just corner the market with the Apodora.
Yeah. I mean, I love them. Like, I just love them.
Contrary to Eric's belief, they are on my radar. Hard, but I cannot do it right now. So, and
You better make sure you get something stronger as far as glass goes,
Shut up.
man. Because
shut up.
that will not end well.
It already doesn't end well. But
yeah, but that snake eats other snakes.
valid point.
Yes.
Very good. So
Yes.
they're on my radar. It's just I gotta get more space and I gotta get some of this other stuff breeding.
Especially for them.
I can't keep adding snakes that are just like no. And then it's like, cool. Thanks, guys. So sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's it.
Okay. How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah.
So Kori Martin Reptiles on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Okay. All right.
And TikTok.
And TikTok.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah,
guys.
this was
really fun.
It was cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for coming on. And best of luck with the inlands.
Yep. Let's say we'll have to
Thank you
check
very
up with
much.
that later on and see how you do with
Thank you
that.
very
And
much.
then message me when you get ready for your Mad Hog craziness because you're going to enjoy those. So
I will.
yeah,
I
those
will.
babies are fun. So,
I can't wait.
Awesome.
Thanks
Okay.
so much, guys.
All right. I'll talk to you. All right. Let's see. Oh, and you want to do I guess we'll do it real quick.
how do you do the
just
what?
to close it.
What?
How do you do the what?
What?
All right. Next week, it's just me and Owen. And we're going to be talking about various things and listen to Owen whine all for 2 hours about
What do you mean
various
wine?
things.
Oh,
See, there you go. It's already started.
that's cool.
If you're in the U.S. and you keep and breed reptiles, please become a member of USARK, usark.org. Go and check it out.
Mhm.
Also, subscribe to their YouTube channel.
Mhm.
It has been, I found it a good way to communicate what's going on with reptiles.
That's what's wrong with
and
this
the
book, dude. It's
legislation.
like, oh, it makes sense they hate us now. It's like,
Yeah.
it's a
Oh,
bad
no.
book to read right now.
Yeah. If you want to support the network and all the podcasts on the channel, first subscribe and share all the different podcasts on the network. I would venture to guess that there's probably something for everyone there.
At this point,
Check out the website, MoreliaPythonRadio.com. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, at the NPR network, and also our YouTube channel. Not on TikTok yet.
not yet.
on
Not
TikTok
yet. We refuse. I think we need. I think we need a tortoise show and a salamander show, and then I think we got everything.
Stop.
What?
Stop.
What?
Owen.
No.
Stop.
Okay.
Stop. Unless you're doing it.
Nope.
If you want to,
I only have one. Anyway.
Yeah. If you want to get in touch with us, you can reach out at info@MoreliaPythonRadio. And if you want to do more on the next level, you can check out some of the swag we have on the Teespring store. I guess we're going to be, we're meeting about that
we have
tomorrow.
a
to see
meeting
what we can do
tomorrow.
to- Yeah,
An
so
official
we're
meeting.
official now.
Yeah. We have to have meetings. Yeah.
And finally, if you want to become a Patreon member, and that's,
On the inland level,
do
you get
that
to
too.
come and hang with us when we do the monthly Patreon streams. Yeah. And we divulge things that we don't talk about on NPR.
yes.
Yeah.
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 That's fun.
Sworn to secrecy they are.
But all the links in there's the description.
Yep.
And that's all I got.
Cool. That's all we have for everybody this week. So we'll catch everybody next week for some more Morelia Python Radio. Good night.